right, everybody, welcome to our deep dive today. We are heading over to the east, and we are talking about China in early 2025.
Okay.
A lot going on over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about
Big country lots going on.
big country lots to talk about.
Always.
We're going to be looking at their economics, some of the power moves they're making on the global stage, and even a little bit of cultural insight as well.
All right.
So should be a good time, should be a fascinating ride.
Sounds good.
So let's jump into it.
Let's do it.
One of the things that we're seeing is that there are a lot of signs that the economy in China may be slowing down.
Okay.
And one indication of that is that state-owned enterprises
Yeah.
saw really, really measly profit growth in 2024.
Uh-oh.
It was only 0.4%,
Huh.
which is a really steep drop from 7.4% the year before.
Yeah, it's a big drop.
So that's not great, right?
No, it's not a good sign.
So what's going on there?
Well, a couple things. The property market in China has been having some real troubles lately. A lot of people are having trouble making their mortgage payments,
Oh, wow.
and that's really dragging down the economy.
Makes sense.
And then also, the demographics in China are changing, the population is getting older, and there are fewer young people to support them.
Interesting.
So those two things together are definitely contributing to the slowdown.
It's interesting to see that play out.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, despite all that, despite all those hurdles, China's GDP did grow 5.4% in the fourth quarter of 2024.
Yeah, they actually beat expectations there.
That is a big deal.
It is.
So is that really a turnaround? Or is that just kind of a temporary blip?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
It's hard to say for sure. Some analysts are saying, this is just a short-term thing, that China's economy is still facing some serious long-term challenges, like unsustainable debt and too much government spending. But then other analysts are more optimistic. They say that China's economy is actually pretty resilient, and that this growth is a sign that things are starting to turn around. They point to the fact that China's tech sector is still doing really well, and that the country is investing a lot in green energy.
That's good.
So it's kind of a mixed bag right now.
Yeah.
It's hard to say for sure what the future holds.
Yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Exactly.
But 5.4% is nothing to sneeze at,
No, it's not.
especially considering those initial kind of predictions of doom and gloom.
Right.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
So what do you think?
Well, I think it's important to remember that this 5.4% growth in the fourth quarter brings the total GDP growth for the year to 5%, which is exactly what the Chinese leadership forecasted.
Oh, wow.
So, they're probably pretty happy about that.
I bet.
And it also has some major implications for the global markets.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, a lot of countries rely on China for trade and investment.
Right.
So if China's economy is doing well, that's good news for the rest of the world.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But on the other hand, if China's economy starts to slow down, that can have a ripple effect across the globe.
Right. Everyone's kind of holding their breath to see what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It is.
So let's talk about something else that's kind of interesting with China, and that is that China's been making some moves to strengthen ties with the European Union,
Oh, yeah.
which seems like a pretty strategic move, especially with all this tension with the U.S.
Yeah, it definitely seems like they're trying to counterbalance the U.S.'s influence in the world.
Right.
And the EU is definitely interested in expanding trade with China.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of potential there for a closer partnership.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to think about the implications of that. Like, what would it look like if we had a world where China and the EU kind of formed a closer economic bloc?
Yeah, that would be a major shift in the global balance of power.
Yeah, it would.
I mean, it's not without its challenges, though. The EU and China have very different values
Right.
when it comes to things like human rights and data privacy.
Yeah, for sure.
So there are definitely some hurdles to overcome if they want to build a truly strong partnership.
Yeah. It's definitely a game of chess.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not something that's going to happen overnight.
No, definitely not.
But let's shift gears a little bit and talk about a topic that's a little bit more sensitive.
Okay.
And that's the case of 48 Uyghur men who are detained in Thailand right now.
Yeah.
It's just heartbreaking to see their relatives pleading with Thai authorities not to send them back to China
Right.
because they're fearing for their safety.
Yeah, it's a really difficult situation, and it highlights the ongoing human rights concerns surrounding the treatment of Uyghurs in China.
Right.
There have been widespread reports
Mm.
of human rights abuses and the suppression of their cultural and religious practices.
It's a story that's been going on for years now,
Unfortunately, it has.
and it doesn't seem to be getting any better.
No, it
And
doesn't.
this case is just one example of that.
It is. And it's a case that deserves a lot of attention
Right.
from the international community.
For sure.
We need to be holding China accountable for their actions.
Yeah. And speaking of things that need attention, the CIA just came out with this bombshell assessment about the origins of COVID-19.
Mm.
They're saying that. They have low confidence, but that the virus likely leaked from a lab in Wuhan.
Yeah, specifically the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
Right.
And this actually aligns with earlier conclusions from the FBI and the U.S. Department of Energy.
So it's not like it's coming out of left field.
No, not at all.
But even though the CIA is saying they have low confidence in this assessment, it's still reigniting a lot of debate.
Yeah, of course it is.
And it's fueling calls for further investigation into the origins of the pandemic.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, it seems like this isn't going away anytime soon.
No, it's not. I don't think so.
Okay, well, let's talk about something a little lighter before we wrap up.
Okay, sure.
I've always been fascinated by the Lunar New Year celebrations in China.
Oh, yeah. It's a big deal over there.
It is huge. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just such a rich cultural tradition.
Yeah.
And I always love seeing the pictures and videos of all the festivity.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And, it's not just a cultural celebration. It's actually a really important economic indicator as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the amount of money that people spend during the Lunar New Year can tell us a lot about the overall health of the Chinese economy.
So all those red envelopes that people are giving each other are more than just gifts.
Exactly.
They're economic clues.
They are.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Well, folks, I think that brings us to the end of our deep dive into China in early 2025.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about the economic uncertainty in China, the bold moves they're making on the geopolitical stage, and the very real human rights challenges that they're facing.
It's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
And I think it's clear that China is at a pivotal moment in its history.
Absolutely.
The choices that they make in the coming years
Yeah.
are going to have a huge impact, not just on their own citizens, but on the entire world.
For sure. So as we step back from this deep dive, I want to leave you with this question. Where do you think China is headed in 2025 and beyond?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is.
And there's no easy answer.
No, but it's a question that deserves careful consideration
Absolutely.
as we continue to watch this story unfold.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.